Hello everybody, this is Jose Betancourt, and as always, thank you for viewing my videos. So I have a review. Now, I don't often do a lot of reviews, but when I do, I like to know what I'm talking about and understand the product, so here goes. Now, here is a 60mm lens, or a lens element, that is going to be attached to my iPhone 12 Pro Max. Now, before I go any further, I want to thank SANDMARK, sandmarc.com, for sending me this review unit or this item. And it's right up my alley because a very brief story. In high school, I took up photography, and after a year of taking that class, they cut the program. They cut a lot of programs, as a matter of fact. But photography, ever since then, has always stuck with me. But growing up in the Bronx, we couldn't afford fancy cameras, so I had to depend on my friends to either buy black and white film, or we would buy a disposable camera every now and then. And even with video cameras, whenever someone wanted a volunteer to go around and record people, I would be the one who would volunteer first. And then as the smartphone came around and the cameras began to improve, that is where I began to really, no pun intended, focus in on my composition and to document my life, my daily life, going to and from work in New York City. And then I got into street photography, architecture, stuff like that. Stuff that you see on my channel. So I'm not going to sit here and pretend that mobile phone photography is not a thing. It is. And a lot of people actually use mobile phones to take beautiful photos. And so when I was presented with this opportunity, I took it. So I wanted, they allow you to pick what you would like to review, and then they would approve it. So I instantly went with the 60mm lens. Now it retails for about $112 US. Let me just double check that. And so it is not, cheap. And I will say that it is $120, excuse me. So it's $120 US dollars. But the build quality represents or matches that price point. It is the body of the lens itself. It is well made. It is metallic, and the lens element is pretty big, as you're going to see. And what comes in the box is the telephoto lens, excuse me. You have the leatherette iPhone 12 Pro Max case. You have a clip mount, and you also have a lens pouch, a front and back cover, which is very important for a device like this because you're not going to use it all the time. So if you're not going to use it, you have a pouch, you have the lens caps for the front and the back to store it away and for it to be protected as well. So why would anyone want this? It's simple. If you want to take your mobile phone photography a step further, then you wouldn't mind adding a 60mm focal length to your main sensor. And in this case, on the iPhone 12 Pro Max, you have 3 different cameras, and the main sensor is, I believe, about 28 millimeters in focal length. It could be a little shorter, maybe 26. So you're going to get a wide angle shot. Now, the 12 Pro Max has an ultra wide, and then it has a dedicated zoom lens. So the main lens is where you have the capability of bringing in more light. So you want to utilize that, and that's where with this case, you will see that there are 3 cutouts and only one cutout, which is right above the main sensor for the iPhone 12 Pro Max, is gives you the ability to screw in the lens. Now, yes, you have to screw in this lens. It's very secure and not pocketable, but I will explain how I walked around with it in a moment. So the case is not leather. It does provide good protection. It has, typical, as most cases will have. They have, the surrounding lip around it so that you could put the phone upside down, facing the screen. And the screen won't get, when you place it on the surface, it won't touch the surface. And I'm talking about the screen. The weight of the case without the lens isn't too bad, but I use a very, very thin case, so I had to get accustomed to using that. The iPhone 12 Pro Max is a big phone, regardless. So whether you have a case or not, the phone is a struggle to place it in your pocket. And the lens itself, I will say the lens adds some weight, not much, because it's all metal and it has a fairly big front element to it. But you do get as I stated, you get a case, you get a clip on, which you can actually use on different mobile devices. You could place the clip over the main camera. Let's say I have a Note 20 Ultra from Samsung, and I tested it out. I put the clip over the main sensor, and I was able to use it, but I just didn't feel right having that clip there. So I prefer the way this setup is. The case with the metallic cutout for all three lenses, and then you have, the main lens where you can screw it in. I'm going to showcase some photos that I took with this lens, and the final conclusion that I came up with is that me personally, I have dedicated cameras, so I don't have a portrait lens in my arsenal. I would only use this specific lens as a portrait lens if someone who was posting, let's say an influencer was posting on Instagram or Facebook or Twitter, and they wanted something that gave them a portrait look with a little bit of background blur, then I would use this. I wouldn't use it for paid work. I wouldn't use it to print. I'm going to try to print one of these photos to see how it is, specifically the photo with my son. And it does pretty good with video as well. I'm going to post a video while I'm playing, or actually while I'm talking, excuse me. I play video games, so I'm thinking about playing video games. But overall, for $120, if you are the type who goes around and travels a lot and you want a light setup, and you already take photos, well, the majority of your photos with an iPhone, this is a good setup here. But there is some softness around the edges that I had to get used to. For me, I had to crop into like 1:1, which I often do. I often use my photos in 1:1, so it's square. So that's a good way to cut out the softness. But anyway, check out my photos. I'm going to leave a link in the description in case you want to buy your own, and it is not affiliated, so don't worry about that. And once again, thank you to SANDMARK.com for providing me with this lens. So until next time, I am Jose Betancourt. I'll talk to you guys later.